Good evening. Saturday, December 18th, 2021, here in Sarasota, Florida. It's about 8:40, 8:35, something like that. Going to jump right in. This is a big recording. This is episode 6. The title of this one is Assumptions, Beliefs, and Expectations. I can almost guarantee that this may get convoluted as we go through, because the number of tangents I could go off on in like many of these things will serve as touchstones for future episodes, future topics to hone in more on than I'm going to be able to do in today's presentation. I am also assuming that this is going to take at least 2 recordings. I imagine this will be split up into at least 2 recordings, because I want to deliver it all in one take. So my guess is I'll cut it part today, part tomorrow. It may even go to a third. And this is the important. This is a step by step through the entire process of this experience. And allow me to, sorry, little late, to welcome anybody that, if this is your first episode, episode 6 in this 28 episode series entitled Giving Myself a Voice, welcome. If it's your first video ever seeing me, welcome. This is episode 6, and in the description for every episode, the most previous episode will have a link there. And then tomorrow, when I release episode 7, that link will be added as well. The impetus for this series was a less than ideal experience in an online marketing course. It was unprecedented for me. I had my own personal spiritual awakening. I call my point of no return was November 18th, 2010. So I've been awake and fully consciously awake for 11 years and fully consciously living my life for over 9. So when I say this knocked me on my ass in every way imaginable since my awakening, I can't overstate that. I was taken for a real ride, and it was not one that was fun. So as I finally sorted through everything and gained clarity and regained me and connection to me, and I believe reconnected with what was hijacked from me, this is what's emerged. This is an in the moment recording. I sit down, I meditate when I run, and when I do my walking meditation every day, and I ponder where the story is, and I start to get an idea of what's going to be shared. And then I meditate at my altar right before I do this. Other than that, I don't have any itinerary. I don't know what's coming. This is very much in the now, and it is by far the most I have ever surrendered to spirit, the most I have ever trusted in spirit to keep following the progression of this. I did not make this decision easily to share this very public, this very personal experience, this very public, having to do with this very public person. And now today, I'm really going to share the detailed processing, almost trying to get you as much as I can into my being from start to finish in my interaction with this gentleman. Okay, so that's kind of where we're headed. Now, to begin with, I want to sort of set the stage of how I interact with everything, but certainly this class. I see everything as it's like an equation of an energy exchange. So I've got my part, I own my part, and then there is, fill in the blank, whether it's an individual that I'm dealing with or have a relationship with, whether it's a job, whether it's an event. I mean, this other side of the equation changes, and then you can, depending on what you're focusing on, but there's always an exchange. There's an exchange going on in the physical dimension. Yes, we are creators of our own reality, absolutely. But there is so much going on in the unseen. And there are so many that have the greater awareness of the bigger game, if you will, who also manipulate from that other side of the equation. Okay, so my side of the equation, I'm going to tell you the three biggest weaknesses of mine that walloped me in the face with this experience. And this is not the first time. And I swear, folks, when you don't learn a lesson, it will come back and hit you harder in a different way. And it might be hard to know, like it will come at you in a completely different way, but you'll know it's the same lesson that you're either refusing to learn or you're getting stumbled somewhere. You're stumbling up somewhere. My side of the equation, me putting out there, these were three of my greatest weaknesses that got twisted up in this as well, and twisted up early. First and foremost, and I don't think I'm alone in this as a female, I think this is it's actually one of our most tremendous strengths in the spiritual dimension, but it's one of our greatest weaknesses in the material dimension, which is our tendency to give more weight to the future potential of something, as opposed to, or giving more weight to the future potential of someone or something, and giving less weight to what something is in the moment, who somebody is in the moment, weighting this more than what it is. Okay. Second, and this is related to what I just said, to the aforementioned, I get really excited really quickly. Like that's my natural tendency. That's what I think 5D is. But what I have learned the very hard way, and I shared that with you yesterday, almost a six-figure leap of faith because I was so excited. So I have learned this the hard way. So compared to that, I'm doing great, but this would come back to bite me in the ass. I get really excited really soon and I'm naturally positive, and I like figuring out the best aspects of something and giving that my attention and feeding that. But like I said, that means that I oftentimes overlook what something is because it's so hard for me. And up until I took my big six-figure leap of faith, I was so naive to the dark and evil, and that there are a lot of people that consciously do lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, and they don't have any problem with it, and so it's out there to believe it isn't. And I was very naive. And it has taken me, I was at 37 years old, probably the naivety of a teenager in some ways, in terms of my trusting nature. So I had a lot of catching up to do. Okay. The third thing is letting go. I don't let go well, especially of relationships, especially when I perceive something to have so much potential and really, from my perception, to not be that far down the linear timeline, if you will, like the potential. And it's, I was a coach, I was a basketball coach, I was a teacher in the classroom. The best teachers and coaches see the potential of a team, where they are at the beginning of the season, and then they make an assessment of where their team can be, and that's how they guides their season. Okay, so I do well at this. My problem has been, like I said, underestimating what it is and not understanding and not giving something enough time to reveal where it really is, not to judge it, simply to understand what you're dealing with, because a potential can't be reached unless there's awareness and agreement and understanding with the people, with the energy that you're seeking the potential for. Okay, so now the other side of the equation at a general level is the spiritual community. More so than the truther community that I identified. These are the two communities that I really didn't have any awareness of, that I have had a lot of interaction with, a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities in the past 22 months. Okay. Now the call out, I am stupefied still that after 9 years that listen, I'm all about respecting people. I have nothing against people that are bigger and have more fans and more money, like nothing at all. What I have a problem with is, where is the space for the others who are working more quiet, who are working more behind the scenes and quietly and have a different role. Like I have had a really hard time connecting with any. I've sent multiple messages to multiple people in the 20 months because, like I said, I've been working on my own game in a big way for 9 years. I'm not looking to kiss any of these guys' asses. I'm looking to respect them, but I'm not going to sit here. I don't have time to give you hours upon hours a day of my time. I got my own thing going, right? So I just, where's the little guy's chance to be seen and heard? I mean, even a chance to show that they're perhaps just as, you know, successful and big, whatever, on the same level as these people with 20, 30, 80,000, you know, followers. So that's my critique. And that is how I generally label Mark as the other side of this equation, because he presented himself as a truther, as a spiritual being, as a 5D person. So he's kind of representing, we're using an experience very specific with him in his course, but the bigger energies that I'm speaking to is to my experience with the spiritual community at large. And I think this is hugely important going forward because the world is awakening. And there are many, many, many people just starting this journey. And I certainly am not one that wants to take advantage of them. And I feel taken advantage of collectively by the spiritual community. So this is a commentary, the whole thing on that at large. Okay, got that out of the way. Now, the title, Assumptions, Beliefs, and Expectations. I identified one of each that I had entering this course, which will be key. And I could do a whole episode. I could write a book on assumptions, beliefs, and expectations. But for the purposes of what we're going to step through, which is a literal moment by moment of my processing from the moment of learning of Mark Atwood all the way to where we are today, okay? With dates, all kinds of things here. All right, first, the assumption that I was making the assumption, and this is based on not just Mark's words, but all these spiritual and truther people, all of them talking, which I do agree with, that it's up to us to change the world. We've got to take our power back from these corrupt governments and these corrupt, you know, industries and big business, et cetera, et cetera. We are on the same team. There is a spiritual war going on. There is an informational war going on. There is massive, massive things at stake. Arguably, the existence of humanity is at stake right now, okay? And they all talk about this. They all got their tons of followers talking about this, how important it is. And they're pissed because more and more people aren't awake, right? So for my assumption is, I'm a team player, man. I was a college athlete, a team player. If we're all on one huge team, then we should be working together, not just out here. Now the commentary and the information for the first year I'll take, but now and into 2021, and now we're almost into the start of the third year of this crap. And still, where are the teams? Where are the teams of people acting out rather than just talking, right? And understanding that the power is in our local communities. So, but most of us that are connecting, we're connecting from all over the globe. So why are we not inquiring and finding out what each person in their local community has and what they need to make that local community thrive even more? Okay, so my assumption was we're all on the same team here. So if that's the case, I've been preparing for almost a decade, okay? I got a role to play on this team. That's what I'm assuming. The belief that I took into this class, I believed that I was really dealing with a 5D person in Mark. I really believed it. I really believed it. And let me comment on this multidimensional stuff. Listen, I have no fucking idea how many dimensions there are. I've had people talk about 12th dimension, 15th dimension, 21st dimension, 25th dimension. I have no idea. I don't have any idea. but I know this is an energetic multiverse. Everything exists at frequencies and vibrations, okay? And for lack of a better way of talking about it, when we talk about 3D, we're talking about mainstream, we're talking about the paradigm that's collapsing. When we talk about where we're going, 5D and beyond, okay? Now the fourth dimension, that's a whole nother thing. That's wrapped up. The third dimension is material. The fourth dimension adds that tricky, messy, emotional component. The fifth dimension, from my understanding, my interpretation, is when we evolve, when we're living as evolved beings, understanding the oneness, that there is no separateness, when we're operating in cooperation, when we're definitely beyond the dollar as the main and primary means of energetic exchange, and we're mature with our emotions and our ability to communicate, not being disconnected from them, but having emotional maturity, and still manifesting a physical world, but manifesting it more consciously with the divine connection and the divine guidance. Okay, so I really believed he was a 5D person. I really did. I never would have signed up if I had known what I know now. Never would I have signed up if I knew what I know now. And finally, the expectation that I had. I did have an expectation now, because as you will hear, I had reached out multiple times, and then there were a couple of other things pretty big within his class that took place, but I did enter the class with this small of an expectation. I did believe, based on my assumption, that we're all on the same team and we're, in a minority. And so we need all hands on deck. Out of 150, 160 people, whatever it was that started that class to co-create it with him, I did believe that I would get a chance to communicate one-on-one as a spiritual equal. Okay? So now, if you can, keep these things in mind as we progress through a step-by-step of what and how this all came about. Okay, I began watching him probably